Thought it was a great move. Weeks 9 through 17 last season, Sam Bradford leads the NFL in vertical yards per attempt. That's production on passes throwing 11 or more yards downfield. That's a higher number than Cam Newton had, higher number than Russell Wilson, and we all know how great they did in the second half of the season. Sam Bradford outplayed them in that category. He did well in that category in St. Louis. He did well in that category when he was at Oklahoma. It's a very important category to have. And, I mean, if you've got a guy who can be that good for that period of time, you have to think he could be a top 10 quarterback.
All right. So why over the years has he not been a top 10 quarterback? If those numbers have been good here, they were good in St. Louis, as you chronicled, why has he not been able to put it together?
Well, part of it has been, of course, the injuries. But even the injuries, I did a study for ESPN's Insider section a couple months ago looking at Bradford, and found out that if you take out the season where he, I think it was the 2013 or the 2014 season, he misses that entire season, right? If you take that season out of the equation, and that's important to miss 1 year, but if you take that out of the equation and you compare how many snaps Sam Bradford has played over the course of his career, if you compare him to Aaron Rodgers, the guy who everybody thinks is a really durable quarterback, he's only had I forget the number, the exact number, but it was only 400 fewer snaps than Aaron Rodgers. So, I mean, yeah, he has a durability question mark, but the durability question mark is not nearly as big as I think people make it out to be.
He gets paid, I think somebody said he's earned more than $115 million. That will be how much money he gets by the end of this deal. He has never played in a playoff game. Is he still getting paid because he was the number one pick? Is he still getting paid because he's shown flashes? Is he getting paid because the Eagles saw something in him over 7 games? Why do the Eagles look at him as a guy who deserves that money?
Yeah, he hasn't played in a playoff game, but I mean, that's the St. Louis Rams. I mean, they weren't losing games just because of him, and he did win Rookie of the Year for them, and he had some good games for them, but they didn't make the playoffs just because Sam Bradford wasn't up to par. And last year, you can't blame the Eagles' woes last year why they didn't make the playoffs. That's not on Sam Bradford. He played well enough for them to make the playoffs. Yeah, he was rusty in the first half of the season. Okay, well, he going off missing the full year, so once he shook off the rust, he was a top-tier quarterback. So, and I still think this is a move where it's like people are like, why in the world would they pay Sam Bradford? I still say, what other options do you have? I mean, you need to have a good quarterback. You want to stay a contender this year. Why not go ahead and keep him? He's good enough to at least win the division if you shore up the rest of the team. Yeah. Why give that up for what purpose? So you can get a quarterback in the draft. You can still get a quarterback in the draft. You can get a quarterback of free agency. There's no great quarterback of free agency. Nobody better than Sam Bradford. So I don't see an alternative that the Eagles could have made.
Yeah, Casey, I mean, I chronicled before you came on that this move for the next 2 years keeps the Eagles relevant and allows them to draft somebody and not have to rush that guy. And even if they're a middle-of-the-pack team, it probably does them good to be a middle-of-the-pack team handing it over to a guy in his third year than being a 5-11 team handing it over to a rookie in his first season. I think the Eagles are taking that Packers page out where they say, look, we'll let Bradford be our version of Favre. We'll draft a guy, and 2 years down the road or 3 years down the road, we hand it off. And if Bradford plays great, that's gravy.
Yeah, it is, and the thing is over the NFC is in a kind of a power vacuum right now. People thought Seattle was going to be the dominant team, a dynasty team. Hey, Seattle's really good, but they're not dynasty material right now. I don't think you can put them there. So if they're not a dynasty, and you look at the rest of the conference and say, okay, they're good teams, but I don't think Carolina's a dynasty. I think they're a paper tiger from last year. A lot of the reason they did well the second half of the season because of the schedule. So if you've got that kind of a power vacuum, and the Eagles are a fairly good team, hey, you show up a couple different places. You can get like Carolina did, maybe get hot and you go and win the division and you win a couple playoff games. Bam! I mean, you might be a sleeper Super Bowl contender. So why give that chance up just because Bradford's going to cost some money? So salary cap is also going up over the next couple of years too. So whatever they sign him to now, it's going to be a good deal for the Eagles. And this is the going price for a quarterback. If you have a good starting quarterback, you're going to have to pay this price. So I don't see an alternate option that the Eagles could have taken.
Yeah, there's other options out there, as you mentioned. So you'd like Bradford over Cousins? Oh,
yeah, Bradford over Cousins because Bradford's done it for a longer period of time than Cousins has. Cousins has performed well this year, but also Bradford. I've got a metric called bad decision rate. Measures how often the quarterback makes a mental error that leads to a turnover opportunity for the opposing team. Bradford's always done very well in that metric. Cousins has been extremely inconsistent. He still forces a lot of passes into coverage. He's very much a gunslinger. So, and I just don't think that Cousins, that skill set, I don't think that fits in with the Peterson offense. I think there's some offenses it fits in well with. I definitely don't think it fits with the Peterson offense.
How much does the Peterson offense then tie into this deal? Like his skill set, did Doug Peterson, in your opinion, push for Bradford to say, look, this guy fits what I want to do? Although I guess Kelly convinced somebody that he fit what he wanted to do as well.
A lot of you got talent. There's a lot of you can do a lot of things to a lot of different quarterbacks. If you had Andrew Luck, you can say you want to run a lot of different types of offense. I'm not saying Bradford's necessarily Andrew Luck, but I mean you've got talent. You can run those kinds of offense. But I think look, Peterson had Alex Smith, and Alex Smith had been a former first overall pick and had done very well. And Alex Smith did very well in bad decision rate. In fact, Alex Smith is the only quarterback I've rated since 2000. That metric was created in 2004. That they went through a full season without having a bad decision. I mean, so that's the kind of quarterback that Peterson has been used to working with. And I think you can look at Bradford and say, I'm not saying that Bradford's going to necessarily be there, but I think you look and say, I know Bradford can manage my offense and not give me a ton of turnovers because of mistakes. I think that's a huge factor, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. Peterson said, I need to win today. You guys don't want to go 5-11, so give me Bradford. I got a shot.
Yeah, I think the deal, Casey, mostly signifies that the Eagles want to be relevant. They don't want to be a team that's going in with a rookie or a journeyman guy. They wanted the relevancy, and we're willing to pay. I mean, the money is a little high, I think, anyway. But the 2 years is where I think the Eagles were willing to concede.
Yeah, and the thing is, the money is a little bit high, but that's a leverage situation, and the thing is also the Eagles. You've got you're gonna have to pay the price to play the game. So you're gonna have to if you have to get up to that level. But what alternative do you have unless you develop that type of alternative? And frankly, if Bradford plays as well, in vertical passing and in bad decision rate and in a number of different areas, if he plays as well as he did over the second half of the season, you do that over the course of a full season. I don't want to say this is a bargain. He's definitely worth the price you're paying him.
Well, and look, as you mentioned, and I think we all agree, is that's you're not paying for Bradford's numbers, you're paying for the premium of that position, and that's what that position gets when you are a starting quarterback in this league. That's not a great starting quarterback, that's just a starting quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the top guys cost even more than that. And I keep saying this, there's so many ways when you can look at Bradford's metrics over the years to say, I'm not saying he is a top 10 quarterback, but he has the talent to be a top 10 quarterback, and he's at that level for periods of time in the NFL. So if you get a guy and you can get a top 10 quarterback for the price that they paid, again, not going to call it a bargain, but okay, if you thought, hey, I'm getting a guy who's going to say, hey, 8th best quarterback in the league, and you're paying this sort of price for it, okay, you definitely got your money's worth. And I don't understand why most Eagles fans, at least the ones I heard from on Twitter yesterday, seem to be averse to the Bradford signing. I don't understand why it's, hey, we hate this. Why? This guy has played pretty well. You need a decent quarterback. Okay, you've got a good quarterback. What other option was there?
Well, I think it comes down to, and look, I don't hate Bradford. He disappointed me a little bit, I'll say that, but I mean, you got to come to terms, if you're a fan out there, that there's like 5 guys in this league that are special. And if you don't have one of those, you just have to have a guy that keeps you relevant and hope that your defense is great. Because otherwise, you're Cleveland.
Yeah, and Bradford has been he did win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. He is a Heisman Trophy winner. He was a former first-round pick. I keep thinking, going real old school, he's like a Jim Plunkett, a guy who did all those things, for the New England Patriots back in 1970, and then he comes back and wins a couple Super Bowls for the Raiders. I mean, that's what this could be.
We asked on Twitter yesterday, at Mike Gill Show, Eagles quarterback Sam Bradford, 2-year deal. Eagles fans, do you like the deal? Casey, you might be surprised. 71% said yes. 29% said no. So it sounds like Eagle fans, believe it or not, do have a level head sometimes.
That is a pleasant surprise. I was hearing from the 29%, didn't hear much from the 71%. So.
The 29% are always the more vocal side of things. Casey Joyner over at ESPN.com, of course, checking out this deal with Sam Bradford at Casey Joyner TFS on Twitter. Thanks, Casey.
Appreciate it, man.